Hey everybody, Curtis from RainHarvest Systems, and I want to talk about the Optimax GRAF rainwater filter. The Optimax filter comes in two sizes, a small and a large. This is the small version. Today I want to focus on installing the profile gasket. I get a lot of questions on that, how it goes in, and it's a little bit tricky, so I thought I'd do a video on it, but in the process we'll go over a few of the basics of the GRAF Optimax filter. It comes basically with a shaft and lid, and inside is a box that has the Optimax filter itself. It's a cascade type filter that uses a unique material on the bottom and a unique shape. When rainwater flows over the filter, it'll actually draw clean water through the sieve after a few minutes. So it does an initial first flush type process where everything goes over it when the rain event begins, or when water enters the chamber from the upper connection here. It comes in, flows over, and after a few minutes it begins to draw water down through the screen, clean water, into your tank, which goes out back the other way, back through this connection here. So this is the inlet from your roof. That's the clean water outlet after water passes through this filter, and then debris and overflow goes out this connection on the other side. So that's the basic layout of the Optimax filter. When it arrives, it'll have that filter in it. It'll have our profile gasket, which is what we're going to talk about here in just a minute. It also has an extension handle that you can connect to the filter for deeper burial installations. You can reach in and lift up the filter out real easily. And last but not least, it has a tube of lubricant that we'll use for the installing this profile gasket. It's a soap-based lubricant, so it'll dissipate after, or it washes away if you know, after it's been on, or whenever you need to do a cleanup. It works real well. If for some reason you're doing a refit or you don't have any of this, I recommend using like a dishwashing soap. Don't use chemical-based lubricants. Just a simple dishwashing soap will do a very similar job. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with installing this profile gasket in here, because like I said, it is a little bit tricky, but really it goes in fairly simply. Essentially, you have three areas where the gasket will fit in the filter, and the reason for that is if you need a lower burial depth or a lower profile for the filter, you can cut two sections off, up to two sections off at this groove here, this small groove that goes around. You can take a battery saw, skill saw, sawzall, cut off one section. If you need it, it's about 3 inches. If you need it lower, or you can go to another one, it has about 3 inches more, and then you could use this bottom profile for the, or this bottom groove for the profile gasket. We're going to install it in this top groove here, which is, in most cases, just depends on your connections, on how deep the filter needs to be. If your conveyance line in is fairly shallow, then of course you'll have to reduce the depth that you're putting the filter in, and you'll cut it down as needed. All right, so the profile gasket comes, like I said, it'll be inside the unit when you get it. You just pull it out. There's only one gasket for this filter. It's got some printing on the outside, well, that is supposed to be on the outside. Your filter might come twisted around, but you'll see here, I'll hold this still, maybe you can get a zoom in on that, and it's in a couple of different languages, German one of them, but it also has English. It says exterior. That, of course, indicates that that goes to the outside, so you don't have to wonder, does it go this way or this way? That goes to the outside. Then the gasket is then oriented with this lip, this large lip here, angled down once it's inserted in here, so that you can insert the shaft in through that lip of this gasket. That's what makes the seal. That's what contacts the shaft and creates a watertight seal. It's a very tight seal because you don't want groundwater, silt, other debris getting into the filter. You got to, fairly clean rainwater coming off your roof. You want to keep it that way. You don't want other debris infiltrating the filter. That's why this gasket is important. All right, so we've got it oriented how we're going to go with it. The writing, exterior writing's on the outside. We've got the lip in a down position. It actually ends up with the writings upside down. But nonetheless, we're going to put it in this top groove here. And when we put this in, we want the gasket to be dry. We're not going to use any lubricant here. We don't want any lubricant on this part of the gasket that we're putting in. We're going to use it to lube up the shaft as we go in with it. But first we get the gasket in place, and when you put it in the groove, you'll say, oh, it's too big, it won't fit. Well, you just really have to get it in the groove, located in the groove all the way around, and then when you get it, you might have an excess piece there. You know, you think, oh, it's too big. Well, you just work it in. You press it into place, like I just did, and you make sure that the gasket's in that groove all the way around. Once you do that, the gasket's in place, and you're ready to put the shaft on. Make sure it's seated in that groove. Now we're ready to put some lubricant on it. You can use this just like it is. Spread some evenly around the lip of the gasket, just the lip part that we talked about, this lip that's going to make contact with the shaft. That's the only part we want any of the lube on. If you get the lube behind the gasket, as you're pushing it in, the gasket could very easily push out of place, and you don't want that. So we've got it lubed up now. Also, you're going to have to lube the shaft itself. This is sort of just a smear it on process. Just be liberal with it. Like I said, it is soap based. Take the lid off, set it aside as well. So we can just essentially just smear it all the way around. And get a nice layer of the lube on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the shaft out there like that. You can wipe it on your pants, it won't hurt a thing. Might even get them a little cleaner. Because I'm not buried in the ground yet. This thing's loose out here on the ground. There's no pipes connected to it. Just putting the shaft in from the top is pretty hard to do, but quite honest with you, it almost won't go. It's that tight. Got it. All right, we've got it down on there. At this point, you can turn the unit back over. You can actually put this on before you put it in the ground. You could actually take it, set it down in your hole that you've got excavated, make your connections. Like I said, just to reiterate, inlet from the roof area comes in here, and you'll notice it's a dual fit connection. 4-inch, or you can cut this off right here and go to 6-inch, which I highly recommend here in the south or in areas where you get really heavy rains. You really need to be on the larger connection, especially if you've got 2,000 or 3,000 feet of roof area you're pulling off of. You go there and do the 6-inch connection there. Over here on this side, the overflow the same way. This is where your debris and your overflow go out. You do the same thing. If you had 6-inch coming in, use the 6-inch going out. And of course, this down here is a 4-inch that goes to your tank. That's your clean water outlet over to your tank. If your tank is back over here, your inlet would come in here, then you'd run a pipe back over here to your tank. So now we've got the shaft in there. We're ready to go. It's adjustable. So you could drop it down in the hole, backfill it, bring your grade up to wherever you want it, and then ease this down in place to match your grade. It's really that simple. The soap will dissipate after a while, after it's been in in the ground, and say you come back sometime later and you want to take the shaft off, it's going to be hard to take off, okay? Because that lube, that soap is gone now. In fact, it was drying up here in the sun, so that it actually, you might want to add a little water to it. If you were doing it out here, if I were putting one in out here on a day like this, I'd probably get a little bucket of water, add some water to that, just because it's 95 degrees out here, so the stuff is drying up about as fast as I could put it on there. But as you can see, it's in. You got a nice tight seal. We've used this groove. You can use the other two if needed. If you got to cut it down, if your burial depth was going to be a good bit lower here, then you would want to do that, because that's as low as that'll go. As you can see, this is about a little over 2 feet, about 30 inches or so. So if this needs to be less, you would cut it down and you'd be able to make that work. You can even cut the shaft. The green shaft, you can actually cut it down, but now when you do that, you're going to lose that little bevel edge. It's going to be a little harder to get the shaft in when you do that, but it can be done. I've done it. Just needs more lube, more pressure, and you'll get it in there, get it around that gasket. And that's what you ultimately want to do. You want to have this in the ground. You want to have that profile gasket in place, and that'll prevent anything from getting into the, unless it comes in through the lid. You want to make sure this is elevated. You don't have any pooling water over the top. You know, you've got a nice area where this manway is, and you can put that on there, and it'll all be flush with the ground. It has a locking mechanism that you can use, make it child-proof. So that's the Optimax rainwater filter by GRAF, and those of course are available from RainHarvest Systems, and we can help you with selection and sizing and so forth. Just give us a call. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.